Welcome to Ignite Interviews. I'm Cyndi Donahue. I'm very pleased to welcome Paul Wagner, who is the CEO and co-founder of CloudEngage. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's easy because you don't have a very difficult title.
True.
Some people, they come on, it literally takes me a few tries. So thank you for having an easier title for me.
At least I could do.
Yes. So CloudEngage personalizes websites, right?
In part, that's some of what we do. Yes, Go ahead.
Well, the way that I describe it is if you look at the website and I look at a website at the same time, it will look different to you than to me.
Very true. That is really, in essence, the way this thing started and evolved. And now it's, of course, a lot broader than that. But yes, I think when you and I first connected, that was really the thing that we were known for.
Well, and it was amazing to me. You know, to me, that's an amazing thing. You know, even if Amazon knows what shoes I was shopping for, to me, if I go and look at something and it's personalized so that it knows what I might want out of some website, that's pretty amazing. How does it even work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that the idea, if you've ever talked to a large audience, right? Let's say you're standing in front of 1,000 people. They're all looking at you, but you're having to say the same thing to all of them when all of them come from unique backgrounds and experiences. We sort of look at the website experience as being very similar to that. So I think most websites that you visit, they tend to be static for everyone, which means that they're just not quite as effective at getting the message out. And so what we do is based on a number of interesting attributes, like roughly where are you, what's happening in the weather around you, what brought you to the website in the first place, and what have you done on the site before. We can sort of analyze that in real time and then take the website experience, just kind of shuffle it around a bit and show you a messaging that feels more relevant to you in real time.
So you still are doing that. So CloudEngage still is doing personalization of websites. And I mean, if somebody had a company in Spokane, could they call you up and say, hey, I want that for my website?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's good.
Yep.
And then what are the other products that you have now?
Yeah, so it's expanded quite a bit. Last year, we acquired a company called AnswerDash out of Seattle. Fantastic technology. In essence, it does question and answer based on something similar to what we do. So your attributes as a web visitor, we can sort of anticipate what are the types of questions you might ask. And because we can anticipate it, we present those question and answer pairs to you in real time. So that's one part of what we do now. I think one of the things we're really excited about is our entrance into the chat and video space. And we launched a couple of products around that. One is called Cord Connect, which is the easiest way to do on-site video chat. So in essence, on your own website, as opposed to sending out some weird Zoom link or Teams. Everything can happen right on your own website, whether it's a one-to-one meeting or with a big group. And then one called Cord Communities, which is really, that's more of an enterprise product, but in essence, it's sort of building your own social media brand on your own website for people that are your raving fans, but also for internal communications as well. So that's a really exciting offering we've just launched as well.
Okay, let's take those separately because that's kind of amazing now that I really think about what those are. So I don't have to have Zoom anymore. Here's what you're saying.
That's right.
And does it do everything that a Zoom or would do, like recording your meetings and all that kind of stuff?
All of those things. But again, it's all about you, your brand. So if you're sending out links and saying, let's have the meeting at our own website, well, then that's really useful, right? Because whether it's a discussion for your own team, whether it's maybe a prospect, someone interested in your products or services, when the call begins, they're on your website. But most importantly, when that discussion ends, they're still on your website doing the things you want them to do, right? Looking at your products, learning more about your business. When a Zoom call ends, where are you? Well, You're just out there. You've lost control of that discussion.
You're putting links in the Zoom chat is what you're doing. You're saying with CloudEngage, you just are already there because you're on your own website.
That's right. And because we started as sort of a analytics company and being able to show you the right web experience, as we discussed earlier, now because that discussion is ended on your website, everything that we know about that visitor anonymously, we can now, again, personalize the web experience for them as soon as that discussion is over, which is pretty important.
So customer acquisition, sales, I mean, really that's the end game, I would assume,
right?
With having them.
Sales and also, I think, satisfaction, right? I mean, if you're speaking the language of the customer, if they're engaging you and your support teams directly at your website, that's going to lead to a happier customer, and that means they're probably going to come back for more.
And a positive association with your brand.
Absolutely.
Obviously, they'll keep coming back.
Yeah.
And so then to the part about having your own social media.
Yes. So we're really excited. We've got our first major client using Cord Communities. It's called the Neighborhood Project, tnp.us. Gives you a good idea of how it can be leveraged in a number of different ways. But certainly for large brands, they're accustomed to people being on Facebook and various other social platforms, Insta. And again, it's the same concept. You've lost control of your message in a sense. And what we realized was if we can leverage everything we've done in video, everything we've done on the engagement side, and build a social platform that is actually hosted at your own domain. I shouldn't say hosted. We host it, of course, but you can access it directly through the brand's domain. That's really exciting. It's got all the things you would expect: social post, walls, group video. So imagine, if you're a brand and you've got a lot of really great content that you want your brand advocates to see, they can all see it there as well.
So would they sign up, like they'd sign up for Instagram or Facebook, so they'd sign up for Ignites, Cord Community, something like that?
Yeah, so again, Cord Communities is really an enterprise piece of software at this point. It takes roughly, a month to 2 months for us to set the entire environment up. And so I think for smaller brands, for SMBs, for the type of business that just wants to, have something up and running very quickly, Cord Connect can sort of fill that gap in much the same way. A lot easier to get going. And
you guys are really good about using social media. So tell me about the Grizzly experience.
Yeah. So, when you're not, say, a Bay Area tech company that's raised $1 gazillion, you have to think outside the box. And our team is very good at that. We had, I think about 1.5 years ago, just before the pandemic, we had a big event that we were going to in Vegas called Shop Talk. It's one of the biggest retail conferences in the world. And we were in this really exceptional position of being among incredible brands. I mean, we were right across the way from Microsoft and Salesforce. And so we were heavily outgunned. And we needed an angle. So some years ago, a friend of mine, we were out having some beers. And we decided, let's just buy the weirdest domains we can. And he bought one called Horse Bacon.
This is the way all great ideas come to life.
Way, usually a couple of beers involved. And so he bought Horse Bacon, and I bought the domain grizzlymilk.com. And of course, that night it seemed like a great idea. The next day, I just thought, wow, one, I probably had a headache, but two, what am I going to do with this thing? And so it sat around for a while. And then as we were trying to think about an angle for Shop Talk, we realized the best way to discuss what we do is not for us to discuss it directly, right? Because you just get lost in the noise. A great example, a couple of years ago, we were looking at what is the cost just to buy the keyword personalization through Google AdWords, and it was over $50 per click.
Per click.
Per click,
wow.
Right? So it just doesn't make sense to compete in that space at this point anyway. And so I remembered the Grizzly Milk brand, and what we did as a team is we stood up very quickly a Shopify site talking about Grizzly Milk. So more on that in just a moment. Actually, I'll just share it here. If you want to find out what Grizzly Milk is, go to grizzlymilk.com.
Okay.
We hired some local actors. I think some in Spokane will recognize both of these guys. And we filmed what looked like a PBS special called, it was something like Montana Outdoors. I don't recall the name exactly. But in any case, it looks very much like the type of segment you would see on one of those outdoor specials. And so people bought it hook, line, and sinker. We brought them to Vegas. They served Grizzly Milk samples. What they were rebranded Mini Moos. And the lead actor was so convincing. What he would do is he would go in with this Southern accent, which made no sense because they're supposed to be based in Montana, but it still sold it. And he would go in and say, now, this one here on the left, that one was from a cave that was a little bit damper, and you're going to feel it's going to taste a little more earthy.
So it's gourmet Grizzly Milk.
It's gourmet Grizzly Milk, the most expensive liquid on earth. And we would watch these CEOs and CMOs from major retail brands sipping on them, and they were convinced that there was a difference in the taste.
It's like a terrible marketing experiment.
It was, but we owned the event. We had, I think, Shaggy performed for the final event, and all of his team were wearing Grizzly Milk hats and shirts, and the whole place was awash in Grizzly Milk. And the conference host, I think they had 10,000 attendees, came up and just said, "Okay, you did it. You stole the show." And our team was elated. It was just such a great campaign for us. So that's how we think. That's what Grizzly Milk is. I think you'll have fun if you check out the site.
Yes, I have, but because I have a Grizzly Milk hat.
Ah, yes, and you can get the swag there too, so that's important.
Yes, I feel special because I have a Grizzly Milk hat. And so your team, how big is your team now?
Over 20. And
originally some of you moved from Portland. I mean, you moved CloudEngage from Portland to Spokane.
We did move from Portland to Spokane.
And why did that happen?
So our largest investor is Cowles Company. They've been just an incredible partner over 8 years. And so I was coming out to Spokane pretty often. I love the community. It had this really great energy, and I think I'll admit it. I was maybe ready for a little break from the West Side, so moved the company out here. It's just been a fantastic experience. So we bought a house. We're kind of settled here for a while, and growing the company here as well.
And have you found that Spokane is welcoming in the terms of the business community, I guess, and personally?
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes I'm a little hesitant to say I'm a West Sider. That wasn't the case a couple of years ago, but certainly as everyone seems to be moving here and prices are skyrocketing, I know the locals are probably sometimes a little hesitant to continue to welcome all of us. But on the whole, it's just an incredible place to build a business. There's no question. And I think the way that the community has rallied through this pandemic is really a testament to the resiliency of people that live here in this area.
Yeah, no, it is definitely, people are generous here. People, they want other people in Spokane to succeed.
No question.
And I obviously came from California. I don't really say that very often anymore because I changed my license plates right away. But it's been 15 years now for me. And so now I went back to LA and I don't want to leave. It becomes home because it's such a nice place to live and it's a good place to do business.
Completely true.
And so how many people in your team actually live in Spokane?
You're asking the tough questions.
About.
It's funny. I think 8, 9. And it's been so long since we've all been under one roof that it's easy to start to lose count because we're all meeting every day on our own product, of course, on Cord Connect for our morning meetings. But that's how we all interface with one another. So our teams on the West Side, our teams around the globe, everyone just starts to feel like we are, in a sense, under one roof. But I think locally, we're at 8. Mistaken.
So, I mean, the Cord communities in Cord Connect, that came really at the right time because do you really think that business will go back to the way it was? I mean, how do you think it will change now?
I think it's going to be a hybrid. Certainly at the height of the pandemic, there was a lot of news around some of the major technology companies that had said, it's over, we're all going virtual, and we're going to go ahead and allow it to stay that way. And you can already see that mentality, that mind shift is starting to shift, I should say. And I think a lot of it is it's somewhat difficult to truly build a culture virtually. And I know in our own product suite, that's what we aspire to, is if we're building these digital solutions that help sort of bridge that, it's really important that it feels like you're as close to being in person as is possible, which is what we've done with Cord Connect and Cord Communities. But nothing replaces the real thing. And I think for us, what we're talking about is a hybrid that we'll stick with, which means there'll be some component of being in the office on occasion, but then we also understand that it really is terrific to be able to work from home or honestly from anywhere. We found that our team is every bit as productive virtually as they are if you force them to come into an office.
And how do you think, in terms of being a business leader, how can someone or how do you keep that sense of culture alive, whatever your culture might be?
Well, we just moved into the building at 518. And I think for us, what we realized was even if we did something like quarterly retreats, right, the savings on having a massive office space, which is the traditional way, could translate to what if we just had a smaller space where people kind of come in and out, and then we do these awesome events every quarter, right, that really facilitate team building. And so I think that's the approach we're going to take going forward. I think you can still preserve that sense of culture and instead have something that people will actually remember versus, I have to go into the office again Monday through Friday.
Right. And so do you see CloudEngage continuing to expand in terms of employees, in terms of products, kind of what's on the horizon?
Yeah, I think certainly on the employee side, we have big aspirations to grow the team. In terms of the tech side, we have a pretty solid arrangement of offerings. And for us right now, the most important thing is what we call hardening the offerings, making sure that they're a delight to use, that they're functioning properly, that they're all integrated the right way. And I think that we can continue to operate with the engineering team we have. They're incredibly talented and very dedicated to our efforts, and then grow certainly on the sales and marketing side.
And so will your team be selling in Spokane, or will they be selling obviously worldwide? I mean, what is your goal?
Well, we're a SaaS company, software as a service, so anyone can sign up for our products from anywhere, of course. In terms of our direct outreach, we have efforts underway at the local level. A couple of things. One is certainly for startups in the Spokane area, we have a program where any startup can use our entire suite of products completely free of charge. Right?
Would that include an economic development organization that helps promote startups?
In fact, it could, and no question. But yeah, that's really important to us. We remember there were companies that we partnered with when we were just getting going, and that made all the difference as a startup, right? You're cash strapped. You want easy products that are easy to deploy, and we felt the same way. Once we got to scale, it would be really terrific to have a program that offers much of our platform suite to SMBs and startups.
That's so fantastic because, it will help them, give them an edge, the startups and entrepreneurs that we have here. So it's that's a good thing for us to be promoting because I didn't even know about that. Well, I'm glad that you came on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm always glad to talk about CloudEngage. I just think it's the coolest thing to have this personalization option for websites because in terms of customer engagement, in terms of just feeling good about a brand, to make it feel like it's yours, I think that's really unique.
Great. Well, thanks again for having me. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.